Hey guys, Christina here, and today I have a look at the books we read in our homeschool last month, which was April 2019. So our year is starting to wrap up, so this list is kind of on the shorter side. This is probably going to be a pretty quick video. So we started the month with the read aloud, Therese Makes a Tapestry. It's from the same kind of series as Marguerite Makes a Book that we read earlier on. It's really beautiful. It's a living book. It's quite short, but just a really good explanation about how tapestries were made. And very beautiful book at the same time. Then we went on to read this one here. This is The Apprentice by Pilar Molina Lorente. I think how you say it. I'll give you a look inside here. So there's a few little pictures. So this went along with our Story of the World, which a lot of our read alouds do when we're doing the Middle Ages this year. It was a good book. I think I kind of have to remind myself that the Middle Ages is a very different time. I can't really tell you what happens, but the secret he kind of wonders about, if he should tell someone what he should do in today's world, hopefully he would have reacted differently, very differently. It's kind of hard to say without spoiling the book, but I think it was worth a read, although it wasn't like one of my top favorite books. And the kids, I think they kind of felt the same way. Good, not good. Kind of in the middle. Then we read this one. We just finished this recently. This is Red Hugh, Prince of Donegal by Robert T. Riley. And this is part of Living History Library. So this one was a good book. I think this was a good read. My kids didn't understand as much of the history of kind of Ireland versus England and kind of the church difference there and kind of the things that have happened since this book was written too, between the countries and the culture and the religions. And so I understood it a little bit better than my kids did, but it was a good story. Some of the words were tough to read. I'll give you a look inside. There's no pictures in this book. Some of the language was a little tough, just Irish words and names, but I think it was a good story. It was a little bit violent, but again, it was a good read, especially if you're doing kind of the Middle Ages. It's nice sometimes to have books that take place outside that main. There's so many about England and France, and so one in Ireland, I think that it was worth the read. Good story. And then we just had a bunch of short science ones to go along with the human body unit that we're doing right now, and those were our read alouds for the month. And then our audio. So we tried listening to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and no one really liked it very much. The language was hard. The story was a little harder to understand. We didn't get very far, I think maybe an hour, and we were like, let's not listen to this. So we moved on to Where the Red Fern Grows, and it's by Wilson Rawls. And we got the one that's narrated by Anthony Heald, H-E-A-L-D. And he's a fantastic narrator. I love the way that he is narrating this story. I think we're almost halfway through right now because we started a little later on. We haven't been listening as much, but so far I love the story, and my kids love the story. My 11-year-old son really likes the story. It's just the author has such a great way with words. I think he's a true author. Like you want to keep reading, you want to keep hearing the story and all the details. You can see it in your mind, and just really comes to life. So we're really enjoying that book. So then my oldest son, who is 11, he's in grade 6. Yep. He read the Percy Jackson Volume 4 this month, and then he read also this one here, who was William Shakespeare. And he read a bunch of other science ones too. All of my boys did, like How Do the Lungs Function? I'm trying to remember the other ones. A whole bunch of really small little books, as well as a couple that went along with Story of the World, Middle Ages as well, medieval one that I didn't write down for some reason. So they all read those books. So my next son, who is 9 in grade 4, he read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and my 8-year-old in grade 3, he also read a couple of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, along with they all read the Pokemon graphic novels and books and Pokemon, everything. Then my daughter, so she is 5 and she's in kindergarten. She finished the mini books and the reader that came with her kindergarten program. So she finished those and she's just been getting the books out from the library, the ones that are like those early readers, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. And that's pretty much what she's been reading. So me, I finally finished the 5 Love Languages of Children. For children, not sure. But it's taken me a while, but I finally finished it and it is such a great read. I highly recommend that, as well as the original one for adults too. It's a good book. Then I finished that book that was, what was it called? I Like You Just Fine When You're Not Around by Anne Garvin. And it was a good story. I think there were a few things in it that I was kind of like, or why did you put that sentence in there? It didn't need to be there. But overall, it was a good read. It was a good story. And it was interesting too, and I like interesting books, and I like somewhat realistic books, so that was good. And then I read Saving for School, and that's by Gail Vaz Oxlade, which if you're Canadian, you've probably heard of her. She's a very famous financial writer in Canada. She used to have the TV show, Till Death Do Us Part, and Money Moron. I wish they'd bring those back. Those were good shows. Anyways, I read her book, Saving for School, that talked about the RESP program in Canada and how to maximize and some of the details around it on how to make sure you're taking certain parts of the money out first, and family versus group versus single ones. And it was just really, really good read. I want to say it's 2014 that it was written. So it's a little bit older, maybe 2015, but great information. I highly recommend it if you live in Canada. And if you don't have an RESP for your children in Canada, you should really read it because she makes some really great points about how to use it smartly. And then I started to read a book, Quintland Sisters, and I can't remember the author. I'll put a picture. And this was really interesting to me because when I was growing up, those little Quint dolls were really popular. I remember the toys and I loved them. And then I found out about that it was based on a true story here in Canada, and it was it's always been a fascination of mine. So I started reading that story and it was really good, but I had to return it to the library. Other people were waiting for it, so I'm anxiously waiting to get the book back. I think there's like 20 people ahead of me so I can finish the story. But the Dionne quintuplets they've just always been a fascination, and I kind of, if you don't know the story, they were born to a very poor French family, and the government kind of took them over and put them on display and made money out of them, and it was more of kind of a circus act. And then when they were taken from their family, and it's just a really, really interesting story. And so far I'm really enjoying the book. I was about a third of the way through, so hopefully I can get that back in the next month or two and finish it, because I'm looking forward to doing that. So that's pretty much everything. Like I said, it's pretty short and simple and condensed. And yeah, so let me know, what are you guys reading right now in your homeschool or in your life? And have you read any of the books I've mentioned, and what did you think of them? Leave a comment in the section down below. Otherwise, I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.